Here, giving you a demonstration on how the jam tracks work. We're going to look at the Mixolydian scale, the Phrygian scale, the Aeolian scale today, and I want to show you and demonstrate how that you can utilize these different scales to be able to play over different styles of music. Of course, there's 7 modes, and each of those modes have their own unique sound, and but they also are integrated into one large scale from the major scale, because they all derived from the major scale, so they basically go together with any song that's written in with a major key. But before we start, I want to begin in the beginning. That what do you do when you hear a song? You're listening to a track. You're listening to an album. Boy, I'm dating myself there. You're listening to a MP3, and you really like a song, and you're saying, man, I want to learn how to play that lead, or so on, like that individual did, and you just thought it was really cool. Well, let me say that you begin your process, number 1, by finding the key of the song. That is essential, because the key sets up our format on how we're going to proceed from there. But you have to have the key, because that truly does unlock the door, and it also sets up for us the parameters by which we're going to operate. And so without the key, we're just kind of going to be fumbling around and all over the neck, not really knowing where to go or what to do. So knowing the circle of fifths, knowing that your key signatures, how many sharps, how many flats, that is very helpful, and many times you can find that information. You find it in the beginning of a song. Each song has, if you're able to get, which is very difficult now to have the music for a lot of songs, you'll find a key signature on there, and it'll tell you how many sharps or how many flats are in a particular key. And of course, you can go onto my website and look up the circle of fifths, and it'll show you all the different key signatures, so that'll kind of get you started, that you know that it's in a particular key depending on the sharps or the flats. But what happens if you don't have the sharps or the flats? You don't have any information like that. You might have a tab, you might have maybe just the MP3, and so you're then forced to figure out on your own how to find that a particular key of a song. And there's a lot of ways to do that, I guess, and I want to demonstrate that to you. That basically, I would use this higher note string here, your first string, the E string, and usually a song will begin, not always, but it'll begin on the 1 chord. It don't necessarily have to, but it usually begins on the 1 chord, the root chord, or the key chord, the chord that we're looking for, the sound that we're looking for to indicate that is the key, that is the center of this song. And so a lot of times you can just take the recording and just play it over and over at the beginning, until you know that you hit that sweet spot. You know when you hit it by just going down the neck, hitting each individual note, kind of get used to that, and acclimate your ear to the song to kind of think, oh, I got to go higher, I got to go lower. And once you hit it, you'll know it. Now, I'm going to demonstrate that with this particular song here that I got. Okay? Hear that? There? Boom, boom, boom. I'm listening for that. So I'm going to look to see if I can find, what the key is on that. Sounds good. Okay? So that is one way that you can find a key. That's telling me I'm on the 10th fret, and if you also go on my website, you'll find the fretboard chart. You'll find that the 10th fret, that's the D note. Okay? And I would suggest that you learn where the notes are on your 1st and 6th string and your 5th string to start off with. That'll give you a good basis to find places on your neck, chording, and a lot of other things. But let's just go ahead and right now just learn this first string. If you learn the first string, you're going to learn the sixth string because they're both E's. This is an E, that's an E. So whatever is true here is true here. Same thing, okay? So if you learn one string, you get a bonus. You get 2 for the price of 1, okay? So learn your first string, okay? 10th fret, that's a D note, okay? And it went really well with this song, and I do happen to know this song is written in the key of D. Okay, so I kind of cheated, but it does work. When you listen to the opening of a song, it'll go through the verses and so on, but it usually starts each verse back on the 1 chord for the most part. So that's a very good way to start. So now that we've determined that, number 1 is we found the key. Okay, so that now opens up the door, and it tells me that I want to be there. I want to be in the D. That's my 1. Okay, that's my tonic. That's my root and home note. That's going to go really well with the rest of the chord. Now there's the next process is I have to determine which scale I'm going to use. And of course, you're learning scales with my program. You're learning the major scale and the 7 modes. And you're also going to be learning the pentatonic-based, blues-based scales that are different than the major scale and the modes for the most part. And especially for this understanding that we're going to look at our approach by dividing up the categories into the major modes and then the minor pentatonics. Okay, those will be our 2 bag of tricks that we're going to use, or 2 tool bags, if you will, that we're going to determine to see what works for a particular song. Because usually the song is going to be written with a pentatonic bluesy rock slant, or it's going to be written in a modal major scale type slant. And once we find the key, then we find the type of scale. Is it going to be major, or is it going to be a minor type scale that we're going to use? Okay, I'm also going to demonstrate that here right now and show you how some scales work in some categories, and then the other scales work in another category. So there's a difference of scales. Okay, so let's look again at this particular song that's a country style song. And that's another thing is that that I should mention is that, you know, if it's country, it's going to have certain characteristics to it that certain scales go with. If it's rock, then rock scales, you know, minor pentatonic, blues, Aeolian, different things like that go with that type of music. And so that's another thing that you have to do is what style of music are you playing? You don't want to be playing Eddie Van Halen over a country song. It's just, they just don't mix, okay? So, but I'll teach you also how to look for the different types of scales that go with different, that was my rock star can. I guess I squeezed it too hard and it popped. Anyway. Anyway, so let's look at this country jam. So country is already telling me it's either going to be a major type scale or a modal type thing, and the minors probably won't work well with it. In some cases they can, depending on the type of country song. This is pretty straight country, and you can kind of hear that bright, happy sound, which lends itself well to certain styles, certain scales that I'll share with you. So let's listen to it again. And I'm going to play the pentatonic scale in D. That's going to be my first choice. It's the easiest choice. Pentatonic scale, we all know that. Okay, and see if it goes well with this song. Some of the notes went, you know, some cases it might have worked, but Now, I'm going to go against that. I'm going to say, no, I don't like the way that goes. It just doesn't sound like it fits very well. So I'm going to try one of the scales that I know goes well with country music, and that is a Mixolydian scale. Okay? So we're going to look at that now, and that's one of the modes, the Mixolydian mode. It's the 5th mode, and we're going to see how that goes with country music. So I think the votes are in. Mixolydian has it, okay? So there we see a prime example of how a mode will work on particular scales. I hope you enjoyed that. How the Aeolian scale works and how it kind of fits into certain styles of music. It's very versatile tool for us to use, and in this particular case it's going to be set to a rock jam track. I guess Eddie Van Halen likes that style of or that scale a lot. He uses the Aeolian, from what I understand. And so, anyway, so I want to show how the Aeolian scale in the key of E, which would be on our 12th fret, how it would play out. And I'm going to play in a couple of different positions so you can hear the versatility of it on different parts of the neck. Okay? And so here is the Aeolian scale. have the Aeolian scale in the key of E. And hope you enjoy it. And let's go on to the next scale that we're going to look at, which is the Phrygian scale. And it has its own style. Hey, we're going to look at the Phrygian scale now. It has its own flavor, if you will. Phrygian's got a flamenco Spanish flavor to it. It is one of the modes. It's the third mode of any key. And in this particular case, I went ahead and went through the trouble of finding the key, which is essential. You have to have the key. So remember that. And in this case, it's E again. Down here on the 12th fret, very user-friendly. And of course, anything you do here is the same up here because that's E and that's E. Okay? So it gives you two places at least that you can play. I think that's a good thing to remember, that whatever you do in these scales that I show you, and you play on this side of the 12th fret, if you find your positioning is in G, then you can come down here to G and play the same exact scale in a different octave there, in a higher octave. It's very good for crescendos and to ending a song, starting off low, come up high, and wail. Okay? Kind of a cool way to end a song. So anyway, this song is in the key of E. It has got a Latin flavor to it, Latin kind of beat, Latin rock, if you will, Santana kind of thing, you know, going on there. So it doesn't lend itself well to Mixolydian or the major scale, but it lends itself really well to this Phrygian scale. Fits perfectly in here. And because this chord that we're playing is E minor, then that's why you want to look at a minor mode to see if that might fit in a particular song. In this case, Phrygian works really well in the original key there of E. Okay, so we're going to rock out here a little bit so you can hear how this scale goes real well with Latin rock. Phrygian has its own flavor, and I think you heard it there a little bit with this Latin rock number. Make sure you get out your, make sure you learn your scales. Make sure you know them in the position that I show them to you and demonstrate in the material that's been given to you. Learn them inside and out, up and down, in your sleep, so that you can refer to them. And in our later lessons, I'm going to show you how we can join those scales together to have one big, large scale across your entire fretboard, okay, by joining 5 of the modes together. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you look into jam tracks, because this is just a small sampling of what you can expect. Okay, and visit my website, edsguitarlessons.com, for more information on the jam tracks. And I pray that you have a great day. Have a good one.